All right, today we're going to talk about the second day's stats unit lesson. We're going to go ahead and start talking about central tendencies. Central tendencies allow us to describe the different types of data that we see, and we'll see when it's best to use which type. The first type of central tendency that we're going to talk about today is called the mean. The mean is just the average values in your data set. Our data set, if you'd like to recall, is the numbers within our curly brackets. So in our example, that is our data set. To find the mean, you're going to calculate the average, which is simply when you add up all of the numbers in your set and divide by the total in the set. I'm going to pause real quick and let you grab your calculators, get them turned on, make sure you're ready to go, because I want you to calculate these values with me as I'm going along. All right, now that we got our calculators and we're ready to go, let's go ahead and start calculating our mean. So like I had said, we're going to start by adding up all the data's points in our set. So we're going to do 5 plus 4 plus 5, 5, 5, 5 plus 6, 6, 6, 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. So just in case, I'll give you a few more seconds. When I calculate that out, I come up with 98. Go ahead and pause this video if you're not getting 98 when you add your numbers together, because I want to make sure that we are cohesive in this and that we're all getting the same value. Then what we're going to do with that 98 is we're going to divide by the total number in our set. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I see we have 16 values in our set. So I'm going to take 98 divided by 16. And that gives me 6.125, or about 6.1. So we're going to go ahead and want to use our mean if our data is spread out. And we see that right here. Well, my data really isn't too spread out. It's between 4 to 9. Now, I'd really want to use the mean to discuss my data if my numbers were, say, between 10 and 100, because then my data would be more spread out. But in this case, our data is pretty close together. Let's take a look at the second type of central tendency we can use. We can use the median, which is considered to be the middle number. What we need to do first before we can find this is make sure that our numbers are in order from smallest to largest. So in this example, all I need to do is switch that 4 and the 5. However, in most cases, you're going to have to do a lot more ordering. So again, median, smallest to largest. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and start canceling out those numbers to find that middle. I see that in this example, we get 6 and 6. Well, because it's the same number, I know my median has to be 6. What happens if you don't have two of the same numbers? Well, then what you're going to do is you're going to average them. So say for a moment that I had gotten 6 and 7 in my middle. I would take 6 plus 7 divided by 2, which would give me an answer of 6.5. So we're going to want to go ahead and use the median when my data contains outliers. Now, outliers are numbers that are quite a ways away from my data. So for example, an outlier in this case could be 20, because it's not close to the rest of my data points. It could also maybe be -2. Again, not close to my data value. So we don't really see any outliers, so this one's still really not what we're looking for in this example, this data set. So let's go ahead and move on to the last type of central tendency, which is the mode. And that's the number that is repeated the most. Okay, so how many 4s do I have? Well, I got 1. How many 5s? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 6s, 4 7s, an 8, and 1 9. Now you don't have to list these out every time, but I'm just making sure that we all agree again. I want us, some of us are visual. I like to write these out. Since we see that we have the most 5s, my mode in this case is going to be a 5. Now, when do I want to use the mode to describe it? Well, that's when I have my data tightly clustered around 1 or 2 values. I have most of my data centered around 5, 6, and 7. I know it says 1 or 2, but because 6 and 7 have the same amount, I would use my mode to describe this set of data closely because it contains most of what's going on. All right, let's look at this example together. A new internet company has 2 employees who are paid $300,000, 5 who are paid $100,000, and 15 who are paid $50,000. Find the mean, median, and the mode. Okay, well, I know for the median that I'm going to need to see these in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write them out. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to copy and paste. So I have 15 people who are paid this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I have 5 people who are paid 100,000. Oops, let's tab that over. One, two, three, four. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have 2 employees who are 30,000. Okay. I'm going to split this up a little bit because it's very close and it's kind of hard to see. And I want to make sure that no one gets dizzy trying to look at all these different values. Cool. Okay, so now we have our data in order. So this allows us to go ahead and go back and start finding our mean that we had done before. Remember, the mean is just the average. So I'm going to add up all of those values together. Now, let me teach you a little trick if you haven't done so already. With the graphing calculators, you can add and multiply at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the parenthesis button. We're going to hit 50,000. And we know that we had 15 of those. So we're going to take that times 15. And then we're going to close that parenthesis. And then we're going to take that plus all of the 100,000s. And we had 5 of those, so we're going to add that in there as well. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to add those last 2 values of 300,000. Now, I don't have enough room for all of this, so I hope that you've written this down or at least off to the side, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this so we can get our numbers back on here. If not, you can rewind the video anytime you need to. So that gives me 2, 1, 8, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Over, okay, well, how many data points do we have? Instead of counting them all up, just go ahead and grab your calculator. You had 15 50,000s plus 5 100,000s and 2 more 300,000s, which gives us to a value of 22. So when I go ahead and divide that up, I come up with $84,091. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at finding our median. Let's try that again. So again, our median's that one in the number, that number in the middle. So I cross off the smallest and the biggest. Next one. Next one. Next one. Well, all right. Look, same thing happened last time. We have 2 of the same numbers in the middle, but again, it's the same number. So we're all good on that account. And lastly, the mode. Well, that one's basically already done for us. I just have to look back at the beginning of the problem. It told us that we had 15 who were paid 50,000. So therefore, that's the most, and that's our answer. It helps to really try and look in the problem to find the answers, because some of the times you just have to read the problem and it's right there. All right, which measure of central tendency would best represent the pay at the company? So if we go back a little bit, our mean was when my data was spread out. The median was when it had outliers, and the mode when it was tightly clustered around 1 or 2. Which of those 3 sounds like our problem that we're working on? Is our stuff spread out? Do we have outliers? Or are we clustered around 1 or 2 values? I'm going to say the mode. Because we're clustered really close to those 2 values of 50,000 and 100,000. Those are our 2 biggest values. We really only have 3 different types of numbers that we're working with. So in this case, because our data is so focused around that 50,000, I'm going to say the mode with 50,000. All right, and that concludes our lesson for today.